everybody. Let me know in the thumbs up if you can hear me. All right. Just a couple minutes, we're going to get started. Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, y'all. It's October of 2021. And y'all, we made it. Like it's about to be November and we made it. So shout out to us. Shout out to all of us. Is this your first time at Creative Mornings? If so, put a number 1 in the chat so we know that it's your first time, whether it's your first time or your umpteenth million time, and that is a real number. We are glad that you are here. And it's been a few months since we've been able to see each other's faces. So I know not everybody will be able to have their cameras on, but for those of you who can and do, we are very happy to see you this morning. So I'm going to go over a couple of very important announcements, and then we're going to get into the rest of our program today, which is going to be pretty amazing. So first of all, I want y'all to know that I'm here trying to also run the slides in Zoom. And let me tell y'all something, it doesn't always go the way that you wish it would, okay? So if something happens and these slides do not slide, then you will just look at my face and you will hold what would have been on the slides inside of your heart is how I feel about it, okay? Because I'm pressing all of these, okay? I'm pressing so many buttons, y'all. Okay, let me try this. Okay. Nope. Okay. Whoa. Hold on. I think y'all can see my face. Something just happened where I can't see you. Woo! Okay. Y'all. Me and Zoom, I don't know. It's just, it's a time. It's a time. So thank you all for being here, but you're just gonna look at my face and pretend that you saw the slides, okay? Pretend that they were there and that you saw them. If you wanna see them, we could actually do a separate situation. You could call me today. You could call me and I could show you the slides from there. Just come, I'll put my number, I'm not gonna put my number in the chat, but this is what I need to tell you. First of all, thank you to our coffee partner, Hodgepodge Coffee, on 720 Moreland Avenue. I know Hodgepodge has 3 locations now, so you can get free coffee and a pastry at what many of us who visited Hodgepodge before would say is like the mothership of Hodgepodge, the one with like the beautiful murals on the walls that has the free 99 fridge in the front. That's where you can get your free coffee before 12 p.m. today. Also, there are free Creative Mornings shirts and mugs in a box inside a hodgepodge. And it says something to the effect of this is free for you, Creative Mornings. You can go in there, you can get coffee, a pastry for free, you could get clothes and a mug. That's a lot. You know, you want to be involved in that. So make sure you do that. Get in there before 12 p.m. today. All you got to do is walk up to them and tell them Creative Mornings sent you. Creative Mornings is going to cover all those things on us because that's how much we love you. Okay. For housekeeping purposes, if you would like to change your name, add emojis or other things, if you're not Zoom familiar, you can go to the top little corner of where your picture is. You'll see 3 dots there. You can click on there. You can rename yourself. You can tell us your pronouns. You can put a nickname there. You can put emojis there, whatever you like. You also have options of different views inside of Zoom. So while you are in here, you can do speaker view, you can do gallery view if you want to see some of the faces of the other folks who are here. And we will always have spotlighted the people that are talking as well. So that's wonderful too. All right. That is all of my housekeeping stuff. Make sure you do this for Zoom. Oh, another thing, when we get into our speaker, we are very excited to have Denise Francis as our speaker today. When we get into our speaker, if you have questions, Zoom has a function where you can click on reactions and raise your hand. But if you were like, I got a question, but I don't really want to ask it on camera, you can also put your question in the chat. Anytime we can make sure we can answer those questions for you. We would love to see that. If this is your first time at Creative Mornings is a free lecture series that happens once a month, and it happens in over 200 cities around the world along the same theme. So our theme for October is design. And I know I've got a lot of folks in the design community here. So we are so happy to have you and celebrate our theme as well. And let me tell you, I should have introduced myself first. My name is Amina Brown. I am the chapter host for our Atlanta chapter, and I am not doing this by myself. I am actually working with a team of about 20 volunteers putting on this event and our field trip event every month. So I'm working with a lot of rock star folks. We are all volunteering our time because we love Atlanta and we love the creative community here. So a big thank you to everyone that's on our team. And you may see CM or CMATL in some of their names here if you were curious about some of the folks that may be on our team. When we think about design, obviously the first thing that comes to my mind is graphic design, right? Or web design, which is also a big part of design, but really, which I think Denise is even going to share a bit of this with us, design is something that's in our lives, in our world, in so many ways. We can see design happening and how it's important to us. It could be important to our clothing, could be important to how we design the inside of our home. We have also a way that we want our lives to be designed, right? So we're going to get a chance to explore that theme today, which is going to be super great. We could not do this without our global partners. We are happy to have MailChimp as our global partner. And this is actually the 12-year anniversary of MailChimp supporting Creative Mornings. So we are 10 years old as a chapter this year, and we count MailChimp as a local and a global sponsor for us. So big thank you to them. They're making events like this happen all over the world, and we get the additional plus of having them support us in both ways, locally and globally. So you can check out more information at MailChimp.com if you want to learn more about all the amazing stuff MailChimp is up to. We also want to thank our global partner, Skillshare. And Skillshare is an online learning community, and they just launched a platform where you can offer your team creative learning and development opportunities. So I know many of you are on teams or leading teams. You definitely want to take a look at that. You can look at teams.skillshare.com. And all of these links that I say will be in the chat and available for you as well. I am excited to announce our featured performing artist. I'm a performing artist myself, so I love that we get a chance to feature some of ATL's most amazing artists. And you need a laugh in the morning. You need to get that going in the morning, don't you? You need a little, I think it really just helps clear your lungs out, you know. And since we're on Zoom, if you need to like laugh and yell and like say cuss words, maybe nobody's there with you. You know, we bring up our comedian, you could just let it all hang out. Okay, so I'm very excited. One of our team members suggested our featured performer for today, and we are excited to have her. 15 years in the advertising industry, copywriting, and creative strategy. Julie has brought so much amazing talent to Atlanta's advertising scene. And I love someone that can be like, I work in advertising and I make people laugh, because not everybody can do it. Okay. So we love that that's true. Julie, she's worked with big brands like Delta and Coca-Cola, and produces numerous comedy shows in Atlanta, in the Southeast, and in New York City. I want you to show your creative mornings love to Julie Merited.
Ooh. Hey everyone, can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up, yeah? Can you guys hear me? This is part of my set. Okay, good. Hi. Oh my God, y'all. I've never done a comedy show this early. But comedians are sort of like the used car salesman of the entertainment world. Like we'll do anything for a buck. Like I drove down to Birmingham a couple weeks ago, and literally I did a set on a loading dock. Like you will do anything as a stand-up comic. Like at the top, the top of entertainment is like an actor or a performer, and then you kind of go down a little bit, maybe a mime, I don't know. And then below the mime is a stand-up comic. We're kind of at the lowest rung. Probably the only thing lower than a stand-up comic is a magician. I think magician is the only thing lower than comedian. But I'm super happy to be here. My girlfriend's asleep. She's probably hearing me right now. She's like, God, she never stops. She never stops doing comedy. Please make it end. I'm super pumped to be here though. I'm super excited to give you some comedy, some Zoom comedy. I love doing comedy when I don't even have to wear pants. I think that's exciting. I think none of us are wearing pants. It's Halloween, so it's just a pantless Friday. That's my motto in life. Oh my gosh. I feel like I just turned 40. Okay. So I know I look young and youthful, but I just turned 40 years old, which is insane. And I look back at Halloween from my childhood, in the 80s. I love the 80s. I thought the 80s were like the best time ever. I don't know if we have any 80s babies here. You can raise your hand if you're an 80s baby in the chat. I'm looking at the chat. But I feel like our Halloween as a kid was sort of like like a Stephen King novel, like now we have these helicopter parents. My parents just sent me out into the woods with a pillowcase. And, it was just a lot of like, just, I don't know, like street lights, and, silence, maybe some mist in the distance, just like a Stephen King novel. But then I realized the mist was just my mom's cigarette smoke, because that's everybody smoked in the 80s, everyone's mom. If your mom didn't smoke in the 80s, like you did not truly live. If she didn't smoke in your station wagon on the way to school, you truly did not have an 80s childhood like I did. I look back though at my childhood and I try to think of things that probably led. I mentioned my girlfriend, so I identify as part of the LGBT community. I look back at my childhood and I'm like, I feel like there's things that led to my gayness, right? Like I feel like there's just things that led to me being gay that I can pinpoint from my childhood. And one of those things is Barbies, right? We all had Barbies. And I mean, let's be honest here. We all just had them have sex. That's really what you did as a child with your Barbies. But my older sister, she's 5 years older than me. So she was kind of like the big sister, the bully, like picked on me. And, not the sex part. You don't, maybe it was just me. Maybe it was just me that had them have sex. And yeah, taking candy from strangers. That was also part of our childhood. We lived on the wild side as children in the 80s. Yes, Ginger, us LGBTs know. We do know. I'm watching you. My sister, she cut my Barbie's hair really short, right? So she gave them like really short haircuts. And it was like my friends had pretty Malibu Barbies, and then I was stuck with military recruiter Barb. That's what I had in the 80s as my Barbie. I think that's partially what led to me probably being gay. And I look back, it's cool that there's gender neutral dolls now. I don't know if you know, there's gender neutral dolls, which is really cool. And like I think like I wonder what that would have been like as a kid to have a gender neutral doll and not ever have everything be so binary. Um, but then I thought about it and I was like, I think we all had a gender neutral doll. And his name is Ken. You know, I mean, Ken was pretty gender neutral. I mean, even as a little lesbian, I was like, something's amiss down there. You know, something like, why is he wearing a diaper or a maxi pad? I don't know. So I think we can all give it up to Ken as probably our first gender neutral doll that we all had. You know, my friends had like the Barbie dream house, the pink Barbie house with the elevator. And, you know, I had the Barbie lesbian kit. It was two Barbies, an adopted baby, and a Subaru. It all kind of came together. I think Mattel stopped that line, but I think they should probably bring it back. As y'all know, I'm in advertising, and I don't know if you guys have watched Squid Game, but I feel like Squid Game is advertising. I feel like we're all in a race, you know, for an RFP, and we're all just going to like murder each other. That's at least what it feels like, you know, when you're going up against other agencies, right? You got like Nebo, you got MailChimp, we're all wearing our sweatsuits, you know. I truly feel like advertising is like Squid Game. I was talking about my childhood and I was like, you know, I wonder what game I would be terrible at. What game would I die at if I was playing it in Squid Game? And I feel like I can trace all of my current anxiety and trauma back to Duck Duck Goose. I mean, I don't know about you, but Duck Duck Goose is a traumatic game, you know, like especially as the chubby kid, like people would just like, you know, have to tap me on the head, and then I'd have to run around a circle in front of the entire class. Yes, Ginger, Red Rover was also very traumatizing. Again, especially as like the chubby child, like I was, you know, I was taller than everybody in class, bigger than everybody in class. Everybody would lock hands. They wouldn't even have me run through. They would just be like, come on through. Make way for Julie. We're just she's just gonna saunter over here. 80s games were rough, I'm telling you. I am a big nerd at heart. I like, you know, I collect 80s toys and, you know, doing a lot of set work here about the 80s, but it is close to my heart. My girlfriend, she actually calls me a teen grandma, because it's like I'm, you know, not because I had a child at 15, but because it's like I'm half teenager and half like old lady, you know, all wrapped into one. So my nickname is teen grandma. You know, it's like I wear Converse, but I'm always cold. You know, that's just kind of like my lot in life. You can call me a hipster, but really it's just because I have a bad hip. You know, I lean a little to the right. I don't know. That's my nickname is Teen Grandma. My girlfriend and I, we've been doing a lot of pandemic, you know, home renovations and things that we've all been doing during the pandemic. We were like, let's paint our front door. You know, let's start there. Let's start with painting our front door. We moved in together during the pandemic, which has been an interesting ride. But we wanted to paint our front door, and I'm half Jewish. So I grew up in Marietta, half Jewish and half Christian, which was sort of a confusing time because I didn't really know whether to be saved or save money. It was just kind of like a really confusing time as a half Jewish, half Christian child. But I'm half Jewish, and I feel like COVID, I feel like the pandemic's been traumatizing for Jews, right? Like and I can say that as a Jewish person, I believe in generational trauma, right? The pandemic is sort of like it's like a plague. It's like the Old Testament, you know, it's the new version of the Old Testament. And you know, we wanted to paint our door, and my girlfriend, she's a fan of the show Friends. So she was like, let's paint it a nice lavender color, you know, just something pretty like that. And you know, being a half Jew, I was like, I would prefer to paint it lamb's blood. I think that would just be safer for us all. I think it would protect us. I'm a lesbian. I know Home Depot really well. It's half off at Home Depot. Like, let's just, you know, go pick up a gallon of lamb's blood. I think that would work well for all. I don't know. I'm just having fun here. I think I probably have about a few more seconds left. I'm gonna end on this joke. It's a fun joke. I do think it's important, to check in on your. We're just going to talk about sexuality at 9:30 in the morning. I think it's important to check in on your sexuality, though. Like before I met my girlfriend, I went down to Key West, and I was like, I haven't kissed a boy in a really long time. I just kind of wonder what it'd be like to kiss a guy. It's like checking the hood of your car. Let's just check under the hood every couple of years, see what's going on, feel it out. I haven't kissed a boy in a long time. What would it be like to kiss a guy? So I go down to Key West. I meet this guy, Logan. We all know a Logan, right? Everybody knows like a Logan. He was like an easy target, cute, like objectively a cute guy. And we hung out, Logan and I, and we ended up kissing that night. So Logan and I kissed. But I feel like you're a lesbian when you lean in to kiss a guy, but you both have to turn your hats backwards when you lean in to kiss each other, So that's my time. I'm Julie Meritek. I hope you had fun. I had a blast. I had so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. You can follow me on Instagram. There you go, right there. Perfect timing. At Julie Meritek. And thanks for having me, everybody. Yay.
Y'all clap your hands, give some applause emojis to Julie. You did that, Julie. I was hollering over here, hollering. So thank you so much. Make sure if you're not already that you follow Julie on Instagram at Julie Meritek. That way you can find out when Julie's having a show. You could go to the show. You could experience comedy in other environments as well. So follow Julie there. You can find out all the things. But yes, 80s baby here. When you said the pillowcase, Julie, that took me back. So I was like, our parents in the 80s were like, who cares about a bucket that says Halloween? You gonna take that pillowcase off your pillow, take that around, put your candy in it, and still let me eat half of it. Yes, Julie, we love to see that. Thank you so much to Julie. She's awesome. Next month, y'all, will be our last event for the year. So we will not have an event in December, but I want to tell you that we're going to be doing a little something different for November so that you can keep this on your radar. You want to save the date for November 19th because the last Friday is the day after Thanksgiving, and all y'all either going to be with your families or trying to get away from them. So you will not have time to be here with us, but we will have Creative Mornings the morning of November 19 instead of the last Friday. And our theme is liminal for November. And if you're not familiar with liminal is the space in between. When we talk about getting from point A to point B, it's the space in between where we are and where we want to be, right? So instead of having a speaker and an artist like we have been most of the year, we are going to be using a platform called Gather Round, where we will actually be in conversation and discussion with each other about this topic. So our team member, Sam, has been working really hard on getting this together. She's waving if you can see her. Sam's amazing. And she's helping make sure this Zoom doesn't crash on us here today. So thank you for that, Sam. So we would love to experience Gather Round with you. If you have missed the part about our in-person events where you had the chance to get to know some people and talk to folks and do some exchange like that with them, you're really, really gonna love being a part of Gather Round. So save the date, the morning of November 19. We will meet on Gather Round at 9 a.m. and we will make sure that we get all of that info to you. I saw that somebody in the chat mentioned OK Cello, who's a wonderful artist here in Atlanta, has an album called Liminal. So be a part of that too. Also, let me just put a little bug in your ear. I know we've been getting some messages and comments from you all wondering when we were going to go back in person. And if I had like a little smoke right here, a little smoke, I would tell you that our first event for 2022 will be February, and we will be back in person in 2022. So We have missed you all. We have missed being in person. So excited to do that. We'll roll out more details on that, but I will let you know, of course, to keep everyone safe, that event will be masked, as well as we will have to start out with smaller crowds. So we'll be doing a hybrid event where some of you will get tickets where you can come in person, and anybody that doesn't get a ticket or can't come to it in person, you'll still have the ability to be a part of it virtually as well. So looking forward to that. All right, now for our feature presentation, our speaker, Denise Francis. I'm so excited for us to get a chance to hear from her. Y'all, okay, let me tell you about all the things. First of all, let me tell you Denise's whole government name, Denise Nicole Francis, just so you know. Okay, that's her whole government name. Let's, be clear about that. Denise Nicole Francis, Atlanta-based senior product designer with a focus in user experience design. She has designed for the Weather Channel. She has and still works with Grammy award-winning singer-songwriter India Ari as well. She also has done some past ventures in architecture. Y'all, Denise is going to share with us what her journey has been in her career, why design is important, and y'all, I can't wait. Denise is amazing. So show all of your Creative Mornings love in the chat to Denise Francis.
Hey, all right. Let me just share my screen here. All right, can everyone see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Awesome. Cool. So today I'm going to be talking about the adventure of finding my career superpower. Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Nicole Francis. As Amina said, I am a senior product designer here in Atlanta, as well as global communications co-chairperson for an employee resource group catering to employees of African and Caribbean descent. I'm also a creative visual designer and a fine artist. And I just wanted to really quickly thank the Creative Mornings team for giving me the platform to tell my story and also taking care of me while I do so. So thank you. I also want to thank you all for tuning in to hear me share my adventure of finding my career superpowers, but ultimately a glimpse of what it's like to be just a normal, brilliant, relatable, fun, magical, but most importantly, normal human who just happens to be a Black woman. And side note, I also want to thank you all for ignoring all of the typos that you might see along the way, since I'm using a tool that's fairly new and they aren't quite keen on spell check just yet. So I plan to share a few of the affirmations that I discovered along this wild, crazy roller coaster ride of finding myself in my career. So leaning into what I know for sure, realizing that I can just decide to make anything that I want, understanding when it's okay to quit things that aren't serving you. And then this idea of doing things anyway and showing confidence while doing so. And then wrapping all of that up and becoming an advocate for others. But most importantly, sharing the story. So first, let's start with what I know for sure, or what I knew for sure. Most of you can imagine exactly what it's like to know something for sure. Some of you know exactly what it's like to know for sure at a very young age what you would want to be when you grew up. Hang on. All right. So that was me. This is baby Denise. And while she didn't know exactly the name of the thing that she wanted to be when she grew up, she knew things like the specific cartoons that she loved purely because of the aesthetic that aligned with hers. She knew her favorite colors. And I don't mean like, I love pink or I love purple, but I mean like, instead of the color schemes that you're seeing on the left, she preferred the color schemes that you see on the right. Even down to her favorite toys. The Mother Goose-esque toys weren't the move. I always preferred something that encouraged me to make things. There was always comfort in art from the very beginning. Those are the type of things that you know for sure, and they never leave you. No matter what career choices you've made in life moving forward, they never leave you. which leads me into this next phase of my life, which was I can make anything, or really, we can make anything. This is my sister, and shout out to her because I believe that she's in the chat. So, hey, girl, hi. I bring her into this story because she played a pivotal role in young Denise's life, and she still does. But back then, when we were kids, she showed me that you could make literally anything. We made TV shows with my dad's camcorder, teaching kids things that we learn in our children's encyclopedias. And even though I was so young, I think I was about 5 years old and I could barely read, I didn't know how to pronounce things like paper mache. It was like the beginning of understanding that we could make anything. We'd stay up late in the summertime, typing up new episodes of our favorite TV shows, The Cosby Show, I know, A Different World, Living Single, and of course, Sister, Sister. We tried to create new volumes of The Babysitter's Club that included more of the backstory of the Black character, Jessie, which would include her family members and her friends so that she wouldn't have to be the only Black character in the story. We also tried to build a car one time in our playroom. We tried to build it from a scooter, roller skates, leftover 90s wall paneling, and tons of hot glue. Like my mom bought a lot of hot glue, so shout out to her. But that's another story for another day. Just kidding, the car looked like this. It was a hot mess, and it ended up getting blown over by a hurricane because we lived in Florida, but it was super fun to make. There was always so many creative ideas that were just embedded in me at an early age. And I really learned that it was possible to make anything. Like you can literally try to make anything. You just have to decide. And then you find ways to take those things and adapt them into making them into a creative and an imaginative experience. So this is definitely one of my micro superpowers. Once I got into high school, I began to lean more into becoming an artist because now I knew that I actually wanted to be a fine artist for a living. It's simple, right? Wrong. My guidance counselor and other authority figures at the time swiftly busted into my plans, thinking that my efforts in all of my advanced placement classes in art were cute, but not reasonable if I wanted to be someone who was going to actually earn money for a living. So I was sent off to do some career shadowing trips where I was bored to tears watching this girl literally design ad spots in the Yellow Pages phone book all day. The only thing that I really remember from that day was that their super hipster manager ordered us tuna fish pizza for lunch because he thought that that was going to be like super quirky and fun. It's safe to say that advertisement was out after that. So after much convincing and false expectations, the counselor, myself, and my parents settled on architecture. And quickly, within a few weeks, I was unexpectedly headed to architecture camp. Yes, architecture camp is a real thing. I went to my choice college, Florida A&M University, to meet other prospective architecture candidates. We were there for about a month to learn about architecture basics, and I was terrified that I would hate it and that I would have to start all over again. But here's the kicker. It was amazing. But that wasn't because we were really doing architecture. We were doing creative projects like designing and building a structurally sound chair made from cardboard, or sketching and painting buildings with watercolor while exploring matching typography to make posters. We used color pastel chalks and charcoal to make our projects, and it all felt like arts and crafts. And if that's what architecture was, I wanted in. And it was for about 2 years of architecture school, the first 2 years. It felt like we just did increasingly more challenging arts and craft projects, as well as fine art challenges over time. And of course, it was always architecture related, but I still loved it. It actually wasn't until I got closer to graduating with my master's in architecture that I got that first feeling of, uh-oh, I don't really think I like this anymore. these technical drawings of bathroom tiles and parking garage, concrete, that was not what I had in mind at all. I had finished my bachelor's of science and done a few internships that opened my eyes to how mundane architecture might be for me. Some people loved it, but I could not see myself working on construction document red lines for years and years and years and years before even becoming eligible to sit for the architecture exam in hopes to no longer be considered an architectural intern. However, I pushed through. And because my final master's thesis brought back that spark of imagination that I first fell in love with in architecture, I was excited. It was basically an art installation that could easily travel the world to help people who are displaced find their family and friends after natural disasters or happenings like genocide. Although I knew more of the mundane was headed my way, I was the type of person that would never quit. I'd keep waking up and going into these small firms where I didn't relate to anyone. I'd struggle to do what they asked of me. And I actually would cry on my way home, sitting in hours of Atlanta traffic, and still I would never quit. I just did not want to disappoint my parents and everyone who knew me that thought so highly of the role of architecture or architect. What's funny is that I'd go over to the mall food court during my lunch break and sit and teach myself how to code. And I would use a tool that was popular at the time by Apple called iWeb, which I loved doing, but still I wouldn't quit architecture. I should have. And I learned that it's okay to quit what's not serving you, or the universe might do it for you. No matter how hard we push to get through, sometimes the universe decides to quit for us. And I was laid off from my job due to the 2008 recession. The market flipped, no pun intended, and no one was building anything anymore. And not only was I laid off, but I was laid off twice, meaning that even though I hated it, I still went back and sought out another role in architecture after being laid off the first time because I just didn't want to disappoint anyone. Now, the second time I was laid off, I decided this is my chance. Here is the open door to try something new. And with fear clouding my every thought and planned out detail, that's exactly what I did. So I decided to go back to school, which I do not suggest anyone do unless it's free. And this time I'd study the fine art of graphic design. I found myself enrolled in Savannah College of Art and Design here in Atlanta to get my second master's in graphic design. Little did I know I would get so much more. I learned a lot there. I had the opportunity to be creative and imaginative every single day. It was really hard. I mean, they don't give SCAD the nickname sleep comes after death for no reason. Only the cream of the crop would graduate. I learned how to create a concept from scratch and successfully see it to the end. And I learned how to reach out for unique and special opportunities to be a designer. It was the beginning of the dream. It was also the beginning of do it anyway and show your confidence. During my first few months at SCAD, I got the tweet of a lifetime. One day I was sitting in the computer lab doing my homework after attending a talk by Kelly Catrone, who was visiting our campus that day. And I got this shocking tweet. This tweet was from Grammy Award winner, singer-songwriter India Ari. Now, how I initially met her is a longer story for another day, but you remember that website that I said I was teaching myself how to code in the mall food court? I created it as a way to sell custom jewelry at the time that I was making from scratch. And two things most people don't know about India is that one, she loves jewelry. And two, she also attended SCAD for jewelry, metalsmithing, and I believe art history. So that's where our connection really began. This tweet led to a chain of DMs where she asked me to help her on a project she was getting ready to work on. It was to build a website for a contest that she was getting ready to hold for her superfans to get the chance to join her in an intimate concert here in Atlanta. My response was, this is only my second quarter at SCAD, right? Like I literally just began to learn how to code a few weeks ago. And her response was, well, we'll figure it out together. That's my impression of her. We'll figure it out together. This was the biggest do it anyway lesson I've ever had, and it changed my life. I learned the importance of challenging yourself and trying things that you don't have 100% confidence in. So spoiler alert, the website ended up being super fugly, but it worked. And the concert was amazing, and it was an amazing experience. I almost felt like I didn't deserve to get to see all of the details on how things work behind the scenes. That's how amazing it was. And also, this was the first time that someone had really shown me that they believed in me, and I will forever be grateful for that. What I also didn't know was that the website project for the concert was somewhat of a test. And after it went well, she asked me to join her on the road for my first tour as creative designer and basically merchandise girl. That was the beginning of over 10 years of working together, traveling the world together, making things together, promo tours, meeting other celebrities I never thought I would. It was wild. I mean, it was literally the dream coming true. Photo and video shoots, television appearances, merchandise creation, and experience creation for VIP sessions for her super fans. But also, we were just becoming really good friends. And I think that's the most important thing for me that came out of all of this. So I decided to revert all of my classes to online classes, and I would just complete them from the tour bus. I'd be sitting in the back of the bus working on a poster for social justice design class, and India would come back there at 2 a.m. and be like, "You're really back here doing homework." Like, that's wild. But I love the work that we were doing on the road and the people that we were meeting along the way. But most importantly, the band. Our band really felt like family. It gave me an escape from the roller coaster ride of creating innovative and imaginative work at school, but still not being invited to one of the biggest job fair exhibits for graphic designers at our school, or being accepted into a course to be instructed by the famous Massimo Vignelli, creator of the well-known typefaces all over the world and the designs for the New York subway system. All just to be told by some professors to make sure I keep my hands out of my portfolio photos just in case employers didn't want to hire Black people. I had landed some pretty cool internships along the way, but none of that mattered. The opportunities never came organically, and I always had to strive to be the best so that I wasn't rejected just because of the way that I looked. Creating while touring was a dream job, and it still is today. But realistically, what people don't realize is that there are gaps between working on gigs in the music industry. The work that's produced is a product of the singer or the artist's personal life. If they're taking a break or spending some time working on their album, or just were emotionally creating in private for a moment, then that's super normal, but it's absolutely your sole responsibility to keep yourself afloat financially and to continue working somehow. So I graduated, and in between touring and working on music industry gigs, I would teach graphic design at local colleges. I was really trying to hold out for my love for print and package design as a role, but opportunities for those types of jobs started to become less and less and less. So I taught. In my final years of school, they were just beginning to introduce more digital courses, especially in user experience, product design, but only as an independent study class. The world was changing from print to UX, and I was getting ready to be stuck in the middle without a job in either one and just teaching instead. One of the things that stuck out to me in my final days at SCAD was something that one of my professors said during my final thesis review. Sitting at a table surrounded with all of my professors, he said something like, We all know that you're one of the most talented designers to complete the MFA program here so far. You're a good storyteller and you will go far. But the only thing that's missing is your confidence in believing in yourself. We think that you can do great things, but now you have to show the world that you believe that you can do great things. Show your confidence. And I was just like sitting there with all those people surrounding me like, okay. So as it was time to move on from SCAD and teaching and touring the world, all while being immersed with this difficulty of finding a more stable job in the creative field, I began to wonder what was actually next here. I have all these degrees, super awesome experience under my belt, and no one is even really looking at my portfolio or my resume. At this point, it's 2015, and I began to think back to a happy hour that I attended while trying to network my way into a creative role. I remember a brief presentation about a boot camp to learn more about user experience. Now, this was a time in Atlanta when UX was just beginning to become more popular, but there really wasn't many people talking about what UX really was and how to get a role doing it. So I hopped on the Googles and I began to do some research and asking around about these people who gave this brief presentation from General Assembly. Learning UX, there seemed to be like the thing that I needed to do. However, I was super skeptical and reluctant because I had already done so much school. And it was an immersive program, which meant that I'd possibly have to quit my job teaching. I even applied for their diversity grant as well as their grant for women, and later found out that out of the only 2 Black female students in the cohort of 12, including myself, neither one of us received either one of those grants. And while I really love the people who they went to, it just really felt like a big blow. Like, how did we not receive the grants being the only Black women in the group? So I made up this plan. I was like, okay, the course is 10 weeks and you had 5 weeks to receive a weekly prorated refund if you decided to drop out. I would not quit my job until the first 5 weeks were over, meaning that I would be getting 0 sleep, which I do not recommend anyone do. And I put this whole thing on a credit card with 0 interest because I refused to take out another loan for education. I told myself I would be the first one in my cohort to get a job and I'd use my negotiation skills to pay it off ASAP. So this was a new type of career and life roller coaster ride. I was the only one in the course that had a formal art and design foundation. I could feel the momentum. I was exhausted, but I was nailing these UX portfolio projects. However, I couldn't really enjoy the ride as I still had these micro fears of things that I knew could potentially hold me back anyway. UX was new, so there weren't many mentors, let alone Black mentors, let alone female Black mentors. And I had to worry about things like, how should I wear my hair in my headshot? People were already asking me things like, why do you wear that weird hat? Whenever I would wear a head wrap over my beautiful locks. I'd wonder if I should include a photo of myself on my portfolio site. Would they even trust my previous experience, or would I have to start all over again in an entry-level role just because of who they assumed I was as a person? Would I be dinged for changing careers? Some of you may know Black women are typically feared to be job hoppers. But most importantly, would I have the proper onboarding and be set up for success? Or was I in danger of drowning by jumping in feet first? So I did the Black woman thing. I made sure it was clear that I was working harder than everyone else. I knew just doing okay work would get me nowhere. And I even found myself at times arguing with other students in my cohort on why my fear of having my resume and portfolio basically trashed because I did include images of myself on my website were actual valid concerns of mine. But I did it. I was the first in my cohort to land a job on the same night of the General Assembly Meet and Hire Reverse Job Fair. It was for a startup that didn't last very long because, frankly, just because you have funding doesn't mean you know what you're doing in the tech space. It was actually a hot mess. And so I moved on quickly into my first role as a corporate UX designer, which was a mid-level position, not entry level, and the first of its kind at the company that I went to. I did it. So far, this roller coaster ride has been wild, and it's now time to become an advocate. My mind was set on trying to help others to never have to experience the downs that I did along the way. Now, I had this new job under my belt, and so it was time to create space for others who look like me. I began teaching UX 101 classes at night to stay connected with the Atlanta UX community. And I met a lot of people, but it opened up doors for me to meet other people who needed mentorship. I'd give up my evenings and nights and dedicate them to having conversations with people who were struggling to find their way in the UX community. So no matter how tired or exhausted I was, I'd take the meeting. I wanted to be who I needed back when I was trying to find my way. I learned a lot about mentorship during this time. Not everyone needs to be your mentee, but there are various relationships in mentoring that a lot of people fail to realize. Of course, you have the mentor-mentee relationship, sure, but there's also the personal board of directors, people that you can always go to for advice, that are always in your corner, that don't necessarily have to be industry people. Then you have sponsors, people who can speak highly for you when you aren't in the room. They create a seat for you when you're in spaces that you may otherwise have a hard time entering. Industry peers, these are people who are doing similar things as you that you can compare your experience to get ahead. And then you have your tribe, which I think is the most important one to have. These are basically industry peers who are genuinely your friends, and you can be more personal with these folks. The most important, or the importance of these relationships carried on with me. As I moved companies, I realized that I had the opportunity to take a stand for people who were career changers, especially those who come from a non-corporate career like myself. Interns, high school students, new hires, Black people, Black women, women in general, basically anyone who didn't fit the typical norm and needed a refresher on corporate lingo, acronyms, politics, a way to get out of career hazing, and all of the things that just make it hard for no good reason. And let's face it, most corporate companies, the onboarding sucks. And these are the people who are typically not set up for success. No one deserves years of hardship before finding success. I learned that even if I laced my work with my superpowers, whether that's adding my style of storytelling to my work by including my skills in sketch note taking or just sketching in general, or my stronger visual design background, or my innovative ideas, my vulnerability in having courageous conversations, soft skills in people moment preservation, and creative ways to get answers and solutions in my daily work, that I'd always enter teams that had at least 1 to 2 people who had never had to work with someone who looked like me. And they don't have people that look like me in their personal lives. And really had no desire to get to know me as a teammate, which just made things really hard. This more recently has led me to create or join efforts as a part of my daily work that creates tools to help people succeed. Documents like design process checklists, visual UX and UI consistency efforts, and learning to be an advocate for things like accessibility and ethics in design. I've had the opportunity to be immersed in changes and improvements to be made in the way we approach diversity, inclusion, equity, and equal pay. And so I took on an additional role at my current job as global communications co-chairperson for our employee resource group for employees of African and Caribbean descent. Now, mind you, this is at a global level. But really anything that I can do to ensure a platform of success in the spaces that I've struggled in, I'm here for it. Also, sharing these stories is a big part of making change for diverse designers like me. So I began to speak. I always knew that I wanted to do more public speaking, but I never imagined that I feel so strongly compelled to take the route of speaking about how to protect your magic as a diverse employee when you were never set up for success in the first place, or how to find your superpowers when you're almost always expected to do poorer work, even when other colleagues get praised for doing the bare minimum. How to actively shield yourself from burnout with micro wellness life changes. Those are the things that I love to speak about. So whenever I'm asked to do talks like this, I always think to myself, why do these people want me to come here and talk about the things? I mean, I have a story to tell, but the story isn't complete yet to me. I didn't write a best-selling book or become famous for creating some digital content. I usually spend a lot of my time trying to figure out how to give myself the next promotion because I don't see one in sight. I'm not considered on large platforms yet. And there's no happy ending with a big bow on top for me yet. But the thing I realize about my story is that the things I have been able to accomplish by leaning into my superpowers, those are the happy endings. Learning how to give back to others like me who really need it, that's the beautiful surprise. And the mere fact that I get to keep going and keep continuing to find my large platform with continued success, that is empowerment wrapped in a bow. Being a genius design bae isn't always easy, but it's definitely a superpower win for me. So I've said a lot today, and I'm still not sure if the story even makes sense, but I'll leave you with this. I encourage you all, when you feel stuck, when imposter syndrome kicks in, when you're burnt out and exhausted, continue to lean into your superpowers because you are just as worthy as anyone else. Your superpower story matters and could inspire someone else. Take care, drink some water, call your mom, mind the business that pays you, back up your hard drive, and love yourself. Thank you, everyone, for joining my talk today.
Y'all give it up for Denise. Denise, I'm just, yes. Okay, so I think we may have a couple of raised hands already, but I know everybody's gonna scoot away to work, but I'd love to take 5 or 10 minutes for folks to ask Denise any follow-up questions. Denise, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm making sure you can post your questions in the chat, or you can also raise your hand and then we can find you there and unmute you. I'm just scrolling through to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, Denise, while we're waiting to see if we're going to get a couple of questions, I'm sure we will. You have already had such a storied career. What do you feel like are some things that you are dreaming of next for yourself?
Oh man. I think that for me, I would like to take this story and make it more visual and digital and social to share with others. I think one of the dreams would be just to work with some brands, some on the top of my mind, or some artists and creators that I would love to work with, Chantal Martin. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it into the universe, Issa Rae, because I feel like that's gonna happen for me at some point in my life. Just go ahead and sprinkle the Issa Rae dust on the things. And just, I really want to be an advocate for other people that have it hard in not having the choice of being a creative, right? Being born that way and wanting to be able to make a living that way. So anything that I can create digitally in this space of like art and design, that's what my dream is, to be able to do that and feel good about doing that every single day.
I love it. I love it. Yes. Some people's want to know if you're going to be at 3% conference next week. Are you going to be at that, Denise?
I think I might be able to make it out to the 3% conference. So I will definitely be there. And if anyone else is going to be there, I would love to meet. So if you see me, feel free to stop me and say hello.
Yes, honey, y'all might see quite a few Creative Mornings folks. And if you are on here and you want to go to 3% conference, they have been so kind to give us some free registrations for our community. So please email us, DM, comments, let me know if that's something that you want to have. You too could be in the same room as Denise. Mhm. Yes, okay. Let me ask another follow-up question, Denise. For anyone here, or we will have folks that will be watching this recording that may be either just starting in their design career or maybe at the part where they're pivoting, which is something that you experienced in your career. What advice would you give on how to make that step to get your design career started?
Yeah, I would actually circle back to speaking about just mentorship or like the different types of relationship building for careers. I think that is super important to find mentors, but then also to create that board of directors, whether that's your sister or someone that you used to work with or a professor, people that can really guide you along the way that have a fresh perspective on the career that you want to have. And then again, the most important relationship there is really fostering your design tribe or like your art tribe. I can't express enough how much collaboration can really, really build you up. I mean, I've seen people that I adore and trust and love so much in the design community in the chat, and it feels so awesome to have them here supporting me. So thank you for that. But I would just suggest building those relationships and getting feedback on everything. That's going to be the way to really start to create a mountain with the work that you create.
Oh, that's great. We got a question in the chat. Denise, protecting your self-esteem is a huge part of being able to push through. What things did you lean into to keep the faith until you got a win? Great question.
I think it's easier to build a strong self-esteem when you are well educated in what you're trying to do as your career. I think for me, luckily, I have that background of, that formal background in art and design. And I think that really brought a lot of strength. But I do understand that people are career changers. And so that foundation might not be there. But I think that's what the design and community or the design and art community is for. Like, it's here. You can reach out to people. I think you have to have a little bit of tough skin because everyone doesn't have time to always give, but there are a lot of people that do give back. And there are a lot of people that will spend some time with you and look at your portfolio or just help you understand which direction you should be going into. And I think it's really important to actually take that feedback, not as like just harsh criticism, but really listen and build that into how you're developing yourself as a professional. And I think that can help build that self-esteem, because once you know what you know for sure, really can't nobody tell you nothing.
That's it. That's it right there. Let me ask you one more question. And we're gonna do this final one unless anybody has any other ones. So if you've got that question and your heart is beating, put it in the chat right now because we can get it to Denise before we go. But I wanted to ask you this question, Denise, which is a little bit of a follow-up question to the last one. But I was just talking with another friend that works in sort of creative industry. And there are these moments which you described to us in your story where this big opportunity arrives to you. And there are a lot of feelings and thoughts you can have. You could feel like, oh gosh, am I ready for this? But here's the request. What suggestions, tips would you give for folks that work in creative industry that may get that DM, like what you received from India RE, may get that, email from whatever company or business they really wanted to partner with? What's the stuff that you should do as soon as you get that moment? And I want to put a little moment in here, people. Anybody here in the creative industry, the first thing I want you to do is make sure you know where the form on your website goes. Make sure it comes to your email so you don't miss these opportunities. Tell us, Denise, what should the people do?
So the first thing that I would say is go ahead and feel all the feelings because they're coming anyway, right? So if you're getting ready to like freak out, just go ahead and freak out. I'll be honest, I have been wanting to do Creative Mornings for a few years now, and I'm so happy to be here. But I had a little freak out moment, like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually getting ready to do it. And even when I got the ask to do it, the first thing that came into my mind was like, no, I'm not ready for this. No. But with a little bit of encouragement from the team and one of my good friends, Celeste, who's on the call, I think you just kind of have to do things anyway, right? Because you can always fix a failure, or it's better to fail fast and get really good at things quickly. And so my first advice would be to feel all the feels, do it anyway, create a plan, do what you were taught to do. And if you have that education, you have that background in it, you should have no problem. But also remember that you can reach out to people for help. So if you're not sure what to do or what to say or how to move forward, once you start to hone these relationships and create people that you can have conversations with on how to approach something, it really does make things a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh, so good, Denise, because you never know when this moment is going to come that could catapult you into a whole new part of your career, which was so beautiful to know in your story. Denise, I just can't say thank you enough for sharing with us your story and your expertise. Y'all don't have to stop here with Denise. Y'all can go to Denise's website. Y'all can go to creativesoulDeniseNicole.com. You can go to there. You can be friends with Denise on LinkedIn and be like professional. You could be on Instagram. You have all sorts of things you can do. So go do that. Make sure you support her work. Oh my gosh, amazing, amazing stuff. Denise, thank you. Anybody that's sending me messages right now about 3% conference, I got you. I'm picking those up. And I also put those things in the DM from our Instagram account. Denise, you're amazing. Put your applause in the chat for her. She killed it. This will be up on our website next week, so you can watch this or send it to folks in case you missed it. We'll see you all November 19th. Have a wonderful, wonderful Friday. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.